Thank you so much for joining, guys. As always, I'm Bogdan. I'm here. I'm one of the junior traders on the London trading floor. And this week we have a bit of a different format because we'll be interviewing one of my fellow desk mates here on the floor, junior trader Harry as well. So without further ado, let's talk a bit about Harry. So Harry himself, he's a story just like a lot of us, kind of echoes my own story as well. He's someone who started out in the retail trading world, trading FX, CFDs, and so on. But he later joined the Axia career trading course and ultimately joined the trading floor as well. Again, much like my own story. So at this moment in time, Harry has been trading live for 2 years and has also been funded by Axia. Let's get started. Harry, welcome to the stream.
Hey, mate. You all right?
How's it going? No, I'm good.
Good.
I'm very good. Let's flip you around just to update and refresh. So I think we're going to be going through a lot of stuff right now. I think we have around about 2 hours, so obviously we don't want to waste our precious time. So I think it's best if we just dive in. Once you went on to the Axia course, what made you, that introduced you to futures and so on, away from CFDs? And how did it help you in that regard, moving away from the markets you're trading, and how did it really improve your trading?
I think it's the fact that reading the ladder and you can actually see real volume. I remember something like when I did that previous course was about talking about the real volume, and when you're trading like those CFD things, all you can see the volume on those platforms that you use is the only volume inside that current platform, where is when you're watching the real volume, it's much a different way of looking at things. You can actually still see the real market, etc. So again, there's multiple different tools, etc. that you can use, etc. You've got the profiles, footprint. You learn everything really.
And was this the point once you finished, or perhaps you decided before? I mean, was there any specific moment that convinced you that you want to do trading as a professional career? Like, was it kind of like a light bulb moment, or was it just over time you were bit by the bug and then?
Yeah, exactly that, and you just have to keep going with it. Really, it's the same with anything. To try and get to the top, etc. So yeah, it's sort of that light bulb moment at the beginning, and then I was doing other things, different jobs, etc. Working your way to then eventually you bite the bullet and you just carry on. You try and work your way to the top.
And so you came up. So if I, obviously I introduced it a bit, but basically you finished the course and then you joined the floor directly afterwards, right?
Yeah, that was it, straight away.
And then I think you were on the sim for a while, and then I think you were funded live now, 2 years ago now, and obviously you've been trading live since then on the floor. And pass through that experience, like for example, being on the course, learning what you did, going through that demo period, and then going live and so on. If you had to give advice to all the guys now who are on the career course, I think they started the February course last week. What advice would you give them right now? I'm sure a few of them are watching probably. So
yeah, I think you just want to just keep being persistent, etc. Where you just have to keep going. You take everything on board that you learn. It's just trial and error. I mean, there's no other way you can really go about it except trying one thing, trying to play breakouts. It might not exactly, or momentum plays might not be your thing. Scalping might be your thing. And it's all these different ways using profiles, footprint, comments, etc. You just have to keep trying all different things. You just really, again, you got to do the long hours. It doesn't happen the next day. It's sort of that feeling where you do one thing correct, probably in the beginning, and then you do it again and again, and you sort of get that feeling for, okay, you sort of understand how that that sort of trading sort of works. So I think you just have to keep being persistent. Yeah, you will get, it feels like you're not getting anywhere at times, but you're still in the learning process. Even for me, only a couple of years, you're still learning new things all the time. So I think you've just got to just keep going with it, and just when you feel like a bit down about it and things haven't gone to plan, you just have to keep going. Just find that little bit of steam that you've got left.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was saying to someone on the floor the other day that, a while ago now, but you don't want to pigeonhole yourself too quickly in trading certain markets or styles or whatever. And actually, just on that, so I think on the course, that's the first time you saw the price ladder, right? Because obviously with CFDs and the spot FX you're trading, you weren't really introduced to the price ladder beforehand.
No, I never saw it before. That was a big worry for me because I've never seen that at all. I remember talking to my dad's friend, etc., and sort of saying that you get used to it, reading the order flow, etc. So I mean, it's the biggest part in it. You need, you can have the technical skills. Again, it comes down to reading the price action is a big skill, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that's the number one thing that most people usually come through and are introduced to, and that's the biggest sort of area where you can sort of carve out a lot of early gains in improving your skill. And I think you said that's the thing you struggle with the most, and that's probably one of your key strengths right now, right? I mean, we're going to get into that more later, but you would say so.
Yeah, that was definitely a hard thing to get used to, especially when all markets, are different sizes, etc. There's, some are thicker than others. And, me, I trade gold mostly at the moment, is one of the thinnest out of all things that we all trade at the moment. So it's just understanding how you can switch between the two as well when you trade something like the S&P, which is, up to 600, 700, 1,000 every now and then. Understanding how to read the different type of thickness order flow. And sort of describing it in a certain way, which again is the higher you get up, you'll be able to recognize different ways.
What's your main edge now? What's like your elevator pitch on describing how you trade your edge?
Now I would say it's definitely the momentum based, breakout based, comments, etc. Sort of the faster moving sort of trades that I like to play makes much more sense to me. And it's again, it comes down to keeping things as simple as possible and what works for you. So it's just sort of the momentum plays, breakouts, sort of that more aggressive style that you can have.
Yeah, no, you can definitely see it. Like a lot of the time when I'm sitting opposite you and oil or gold is moving, I can pretty much guess what you're up to. Yeah, so we kind of brushed on sort of main markets, but we talked about gold and oil, I think, as your main sort of execution markets. But what about on trading news? Do you favor certain markets, or do you hit the most relevant one, for example?
Yeah, obviously, I think you've got to hit the most relevant, relevant markets. Sorry, and then definitely the most technically set up markets at the same time of the ones that are relevant, shall we say? So the Trump stuff with all the China, you want to, you focus your markets on, S&P, gold, the Bund, etc. So those sort of markets where it matters make a big difference. And obviously they're going to move the furthest, so they're going to give you the best opportunity.
You mentioned earlier you spent a lot of time, traveling and so on. I think if I remember it, you literally get up at like 5 a.m. to travel all the way to the floor. So obviously, by implication, you obviously find the floor very important and probably critical, to your career. So why is it important for you to be on the trading floor in the first place? Like, why is it important for you?
To me, it generates much more of a faster learning, should we say? I think to begin with, you've got multiple people to ask, very quick. Or you've got questions to ask, then you can go and ask them, very quickly and easily, like me and you do with, multiple things. You're opposite, so it's very easy to ask you something or you to ask me. You can definitely learn a lot. And again, by sitting at home, which currently I am, is a different way because you haven't got that access to ask different people different questions, and you're not going to get as fast response, and you're not going to be able to all the news stuff, etc. You don't necessarily have that at home. Again, that goes to sort of that Twitter thing, and which is a massive help as well, which obviously you can have up at home. So and to me as well personally, I love the buzz around that you have. That is definitely probably the biggest point for me.
The energy on the floor.
You've got that buzz, etc. It's like when you go play football with all your mates and things like that, and they're there. You've got that buzz around it. When things are happening, when the market's more volatile, etc., you've got all of that, straight away. It's just that fast learning. I think that it just such a difference than sitting at home, should we say?
And going on from that, again, just pushing on the learning theme, let's talk a bit about sort of mentoring and mentorship and so on. So who mentors you on the floor currently?
It's Eric, Richard, and Alex as well. They're the main three that we have conversations with pretty much on the sort of daily, really. Just keeping in contact with you and how you're trading. If you're losing, on why is that, or doing well, etc. They will go through things with you that which is great to try and help you and give you that not fast track, but speed up your learning is what they mean.
And they all approach it from different angles, right? Like one mentor might approach it from like a technical, like execution angle, or one might do it from a psychology point of view.
Yeah, I think for sure. All of them will do exactly sort of the same way of it. Technically, they all see things differently, and then you got they're well experienced as well, so they understand the psychological effect of it when you're losing and you're on a bad run and you just sit there and you get so frustrated, and it takes sometimes you just need somebody to like give you that little hand to say you're trying to do the right things, even though if you're losing, etc. You just want them to. It brings you down to the level, and you go, okay, they understand what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, no, I think between them, they're all like the old breed, because they all start in like early 2000s or something, and they've got a lot of experience. And I think one thing that's always so overlooked for mentorship or mentoring is actually just general career like advice and where to push it, because obviously they've seen the roundabout, like a lot of traders coming and going, and how to sustain, and advice beyond just trading. It's like, how do you sustain the work output, how do you, and so on. So that kind of thing. Okay, so we talked a bit about psychology with them and dealing with it. And again, trading is so difficult, especially as us as juniors. We're always here being frustrated. There's so many days I remember when you were you're bitter and you were upset, or so many days when I was sulking about something and being very, very upset and whatever. But anyway, let's talk a bit about that. So I think to introduce it, how do you cope with like your really, really rough periods? And I think you went through a rough period, if I remember, just going into lockdown last year, when you all got sent home, and all of a sudden you grew up on the floor, right? So your performance came from the floor, and all of a sudden you had to trade from home for the first time since forever. And I think that entered your like more difficult period. How did you end up like coping with it, or like in the end?
It's horrible, really, because it's like you just obviously you couldn't help the situation you're currently in, but you're just sort of stuck by yourself again. You haven't got everyone to bounce. You haven't got everyone to bounce off to. I think it's the same across like all sort of jobs that you're going back home. But trading, for instance, you haven't got all your news stuff with you. The markets are they were crazy volatile, especially for sort of the junior people that haven't necessarily seen it in that way before, where there's just multiple opportunity across every single day, pretty much across all markets. So to be honest, it was rather tough. I started off okay, and then you lost everything that you made twice as fast, and it just becomes super frustrating, because you can't contact all the people you want as quickly as possible. So I mean, it was hard, and it was a struggle, to be fair.
And how did you overcome it in the end? You just sort of naturally just adapted to it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I can't necessarily remember too much, but I remember speaking to Alex, and then we were allowed to sort of go back to the office when that was June. So I'll just like take a couple weeks break from it, because it's so intense from home. I find, because you're sort of waking up at home. There's not necessarily the best routine again. Getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, driving to the office like I currently do now, and then go back home. There's more of a routine. When you're at home, you just like get out of bed, jump on the computer. It's not really the best preparation, etc. And again, that was a year ago, and I feel like literally since that lockdown, as I think you want to probably get into, is that everything sort of changed from then.
Mm-hmm. And just following on from one of Swishy's other questions here, how important is mentorship to your development with other traders versus learning to trade on your own? We kind of talked a bit about that, but I think that sort of extends into both official mentoring and sort of learning from others just on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, you've got their experience in, at your hands there. So it sort of that speed learning, not the fast track, but sort of like a fast track to, they will understand it in a way that you won't, but they can then teach you that way. There's multiple ways you can trade, etc. So you execute a trade and, you say you lose money on, selling gold or something, and depending on how the offer is or where execution points are, you can then go through with them, and then they can give you feedback. Whereas on your own, you're just going to sit there and probably stare at the chart and not really know where to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody giving you feedback is just literally going to give you that little bit of fast track time, or that speed up that learning, and they might understand it in a completely different technical way to how you did, and then you'll be able to go back and shift your mind, and then you just learn something from that, rather than you staring at this whole trade and going, okay, it broke there, it pulled back there, why did it do that, why did it not just straight line to my target. So that advantage of having that experience at your hand there by having a conversation, even if it's 5 minutes or half an hour.
And now perhaps just one more question. I think we kind of answered this kind of by implication through other questions, but just one more question here from Stephen. What's your hierarchy of tools which you use in the priority to filter trades? So do you prioritize using, one profile, or then technical chart levels, and then execute footprint and ladders? Or do you prioritize ladder first and then just sort of glance at just charts every so often?
Yeah, so I would say charts to begin with, for sure. As I think you possibly go through a couple of Evernotes, I think, so you'll be able to see from that for me, you prioritize charts and profiles, and you can match them together on what technical structure you've got. Then you want to then see what sort of price action you're going to get and what sort of type of trade you want to play. Because for me, I map trades for, that can take up to, 3 or 4 days to sort of develop, or over weeks, that you're creating good structure. So you then are trying to play the momentum sort of move. Sometimes they just break and they keep going, especially when you've got that right positioning in the market, or you get more of a grind. And then it's understanding the two pieces of price action, or, the ways of price action that can, move, that moves the market. And that's, again, gaining the conviction that if you're getting a very nice fast move or on big liquidation, you want to see it really, absolutely sort of collapse, where sometimes you get a bit of a grind, which is a much more of a painful type of trade, because you want it to really go. But if you understand what the price action is like, it's just going to gain more conviction of when you're sort of in that moment and you're sort of thinking that it's not going, but you just have to let the market trade how it wants to trade. So I think, prioritize the chart, so you've got a bigger time frame, sort of look at it, then pick out how you want to execute on what type of trade it is, more than just off what the price action is doing. Then you can define the price action to what sort of trade you're going to do or try and take.
Okay, let's go all the way back to October, November 2020. So give me like a 2-minute summary of how you were trying to prepare for the eventuality that we would get a vaccine, because we were discussing this literally like the entire year. Like, what are you going to do if the vaccine announcement comes out,
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk, wasn't there, about how we were going to prepare for this, because you had that sort of, there's a Sky News, I remember a Sky News, an article that came out very early in the morning about a possible vaccine. So you sort of had that gist that there possibly could have been. But obviously, as the months go on and on and on, you had that remdesivir that came out, which again I was at home for. So that was when the people were in like intensive care. So that sort of came about, and then as that sort of happened and that like got better, the trades then diminished off that, which wasn't that the remdesivir wasn't a vaccine. So it then carried on months that there's talk about the vaccine that can happen. And then they start all the trials and stuff like that. So you had the phase 1 trials that came out, then you get the phase 2, then the phase 3. And obviously the phase 3 was the big important one because, they're doing they were trying to trial the vaccines on like 40,000 people rather than what you actually do need is just 30 people to make it a legitimate trial. Mm-hmm. So testing on 40,000 people is much better than 30. So you just had to then keep develop on how this can come out or what time it can come out. As we're going to the Pfizer one, I wasn't at my desk at that point.
Yeah, I think we're going to go through that story in a second.
So, yeah, so I mean, you just had to keep preparing. You knew you were going to get the risk on scenario, especially, and again, Pfizer was the most bigged up one at the time, and it was the first to come out. So that played a big part. The Moderna one was the second. You didn't get as big reaction. And then you had AstraZeneca Oxford in the morning, which came out at like 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. And, it was rubbish to trade. So
because I remember we were all like collectively as a floor, like, we were discussing how we were going to trade it exactly, what markets to do first. Do we lean on technical structure to choose our market, or do you just hit the equities first, then hit the bonds or something? How do we plan on hearing it and so on? But like, so we had like a collective floor preparation, like, we had like impromptu meetings. But for you personally, how did you? So did you like, did you ever note stuff beforehand? Like, look, the structure here is amazing. Let me hit this. I don't know, hit the bund first because it looks amazing. Or what did you visualize in your head? Let's say as your plan.
Yeah. So again, visualize where your ladders are on your screen to start with, and then know what markets you want to hit first. And the amount of times you thought about it in your head, you wrote it down on a piece of paper because then it's right there in front of you. So that's what I mean. You just had to keep preparing yourself to understand what you want to hit first. So it was like equities first, and oil for me, and then bund as well. Gold, we were all unsure on how that would react. So from learning from that first scenario onto the Moderna scenario, where I actually traded gold, not the oil or the S&P on that time. So yeah, again, it was sort of a collective thing of talking to other people. What are they going to hit first? What market's going to move the most? So you want to hit the market that was going to move the most, as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And the fact is, you knew the move was going to be huge, so you had time to be involved. As me, I was 2 minutes late.
Yeah.
So I missed out on the first. I can't remember. Was it like 60 odd handles?
Yeah. I remember. Just to explain the story, to come in here, just so I can say from my perspective. So we were planning it for ages, and then on the day it happened as well. Like I was sitting there, and then obviously we heard the announcement, which was really clear when we heard it. And then I think it was so obviously we all reacted, and we all like, oh my god, to explain it in a family friendly way. And we're all like, neck deep trading it. And all of a sudden it says, wait, Yanis says, I think, wait, where's Harry? And then we're like, I don't know. And then we realized you're in the gym with Amadeo. Yeah. And then I think Yanis was shouting to Bruno, who then shouted out the window so you guys were like, so you can come back. I can't remember what he even shouted. But I remember thinking, oh my God, he's in the gym. Is he? And I was praying that things are going to move well, and you're not going to come in here and get in and just absolutely get destroyed trading it on a pullback or something. You know what I mean? And I have to say, and I think that we're going to do this now, and I have to say I was gobsmacked. Like when you showed me your entries, how you got in and how you managed it. I was even now, like I'm just like, it's something so easy. Like it's so tilting. Like, for those, I mean, obviously it doesn't matter if you've been trading for long enough or, it's just so tilting the way you'd miss that and get, flustered trading it. But I think the way you managed that was absolutely impeccable. And I've got my charts here, some of your charts quickly, because I know you've done this on the premium streams on the Axia Premium stream, but obviously we threw out some of them on the YouTube channel. But let's just pull up, if I now move us into this picture-in-picture. So which one should I think it was the, okay, this is the Pfizer vaccine, yeah, 9th of November, that was it. And your very first thing.
Yeah, there's some self-talk in there.
Yeah.
In fact, I missed the beginning.
Yeah.
In the gym. Don't go to the gym during the day.
Yeah.
That was the end of my my gym with Amadeo in the mornings. We never went ever again.
Toilet breaks as well. Yeah. But yeah, so I think this is really good. So when I was reading it, you're telling me like, and I felt that like you came in, and I just felt your focus when we were all like neck deep in it. You're really professional, you didn't panic, and so on. So I like the digestion of this. And obviously, what you could do better next time, be at your desk. Okay, fair enough. But you did what you could there, and that's how the sort of the news dropped. Boom, boom, boom. It came out, and then we all started trading it. But just because this is I'm not going to go in super heavy into this because you've done the whole. I think actually, if I just quickly go, I think these two. If you guys want to watch this later, everyone in the chat, got this one executes. These two trades. You see how live. He recorded himself trading these both events live the whole time. So if you want to see how he traded it and his analysis, just go there. I don't want to go into too deep, but as he said, like, look at this. Like, I don't think I would have been able to do it as well. If I saw this and I heard the news and then flustered, I probably would have been trying to lift towards the highs of that pullback. Got destroyed on the first pullback, and then probably would have getting just very, very flustered. And you know what I mean? Just because I felt like I did something bad by missing it. And I believe that's what. So you simultaneously hit SPU, the S&P. You lifted it really well and then got like a nice chunk out of it, then a few more chunks. But I think that's not the only trade. So you hit S&P, then you got into Euro stocks. And again, you hit Euro stocks right there. And you spray it out and you can actually see the difference. And then crude as well. I remember watching a video now on this. So again, you missed the first blip, as you said, but then just very professionally traded that. And I was just so amazed when you told me that. And obviously, my answers were prayed because you didn't get absolutely annihilated on that. So no, I was very happy to hear that. And I think, in gold as well, I think, from you trading this, got a good few legs. It may not be so clear for those, but of course, you can watch this on YouTube. And bunds as well. I think you traded it really there. And then just, taking legs out of it. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to be like, sort of on a professional level if you're starting out?
Be as professional as you can, I think, to start.
Yeah.
You'll see the other guys that are on the floor, once you're on there and how professional they are. So, do the time that they do. I think that's the biggest point of being there as long as they are there. Just keep on learning, ask multiple questions. That's what I did at the start. And, going back to the being at Axia and how I got there was being, I might have pestered Alex, multiple times about coming up. And, that's what I did. So, not being a super pest, but, just asking questions to different people. And that's, I think Alex Mar got fed up with me eventually at some stage, sending him some emails and eventually he let me come up. So again, I think just be super professional and, super understanding that, if you want to talk to people, do it at the right time. Don't be a pest really when you're on the floor because, people have, trading, etc. As we do, sometimes the floor is super quiet. Sometimes things are not going on and, people are chatting away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think so sort of like developing that sort of mentality from going like sort of more amateurish into like full bodied sort of professional, exactly as you said, that sort of ensures that longevity as well. Okay, so I think we're very close to wrapping up, Harry. I think that was, well, first of all, I have to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think there's plenty of opportunity here. We can talk for like hours and hours and hours, as you said. We want to sort of cap it as sort of a more modest 2 hours, let's say. And thank you to all those guys who've tuned in. We talked about so many different things, and I think that was really valuable. And especially for perhaps someone more junior or getting on the sort of on the ladder of on that kind of thing. So that's it from us, guys. I hope you've answered all your questions really correctly. And I think we'll see everyone the usual time next week. Okay, so thanks, Harry.
Cheers, mate.
See you soon.
Catch you later.
See you, bye.
If you find this video interesting, if you want to go deep into the Axia training method and how our trading team of 7-figure traders develop setups and strategies and how they learn to build the most profitable trades across all market environments, then join me in this workshop. Now in this workshop, you're going to learn 3 powerful steps we use to train all our traders on both our London and our Poland trading desks to help build incredible levels of consistency. How to predictably understand which setups work and which don't. You're going to learn our 2 main strategies for how we perfect our trade timing before we enter every single trade. You're going to learn the VEL concept, which is our one and only technique we use to leverage our largest trades. You'll also learn how to avoid trading setups that don't work, how to avoid those large losses, and our main method we use to identify them that saves our traders significant amounts of capital. Finally, you will learn how our traders use the power of network learning to find market patterns quicker than ever before, so you shortcut that learning curve. In the workshop, we want to program your awareness of elite performance, to program your ability to choose the right setups, and program your ability to be a consistent trader. So the trades that you execute become more simple and clearer. And I can tell you this, you'll never see the markets the same again. You'll never look at the markets with a narrow view of getting lost in all the noise and confusion. You'll take your first step towards a deep edge market awareness. I cannot wait for you to join me in this workshop. And I think you're in for a massive paradigm shift in your understanding of how to develop as a trader. So join me by clicking on the top right-hand corner of the screen and sign up for this powerful training workshop, or visit elitetraderworkshop.com.